What's up, guys? What we'll be doing here? AFC West predictions here. This is my favorite division because my team's in it, the Patriots. So we're gonna see how these guys did and give them their predictions for next season, their records, and their grade for what they did in free agency. First, we're gonna start off with the Buffalo Bills, which was an emerging playoff team last year, who looked promising in some areas, but they had some faulty positions. Their line sometimes just couldn't get the penetration that they needed. The linebacking core had some problems covering. But their secondary was young and it was good. Tre'Davious White was promising. And then their offense, which was electric at times. Sometimes it just petered and slowed down when just Tyrod Taylor didn't seem like he could just do the job that he needed to do. So going into free agency, they're like, okay, we need to do some things. So they traded Corey Glenn to the Bengals, I believe, for their first round spot, which I think is a really, really good deal for for both parties at least. I think that the Bills can capitalize on this move and do what they need to do to make this team better. He was a good piece on this offense, but it wasn't anything major. They can replace him and move on. So the quarterback position, they get rid of Tyrod Taylor, send him to the factory of sadness in the Browns. Rest in peace, Tyrod Taylor. I'm kidding. He's probably going to be fine. That team might actually not do too bad. But on with the Bills, they're like, okay, let's go pick up A.J. McCarron, who I think is the better quarterback they need to do. Personally, I've never been a big fan of mobile quarterbacks. Nothing against them. I just don't think they win championships. I think, the ones I like most are like Russell Wilson. To me, players like, Cam Newton, players like that who just, I don't think have the accuracy for it, I don't think can win. But players like Russell Wilson and Fran Tarkenton, who I think have the accuracy along with the mobility to play the position, those are the quarterbacks I like to have on the team. I just think Tyrod Taylor, he was more in the opposition, the selection of kind of Cam Newton. He was a very good runner and he had good agility, but he wasn't very, very accurate with the ball. I don't think he was a playmaker. They need to get rid of him, and it's a good job that they did. However, no one wants to deal with Nathan Peterman. No one wants to have to deal with that. So they picked up A.J. McCarron from the Bengals, which I think is a good deal. He's a good quarterback who's shown promise and can actually do things on the field. What he has to work with, he's working with a young and actually not that bad receiving core. He's got Kelvin Benjamin as his number one, who has shown flashes to be a really, really good receiver. He's got Zay Jones, who needs to, kind of get going on his production, but he still, I think, could be a reliable receiver. At tight end, I believe they still have Charles Clay, who's really, really useful. Other than that, I don't think they had any that much of their production. They've got a really good safety core out there, and they got Kyle Williams back, which is a really, really good deal on this team. But overall, they didn't really do that much. I'm gonna give them a B because they were safe, but they were productive on this team. Next year, I'm seeing them at an 8-8, maybe a 9-7. I'm not seeing them do anything huge like they did last year, but we'll see. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins, which people think this team just put the Overwatch button. I'm just like, okay, just kill it now, because they made some odd decisions, which I will agree were very, very, very odd. So first, they franchise tagged Landry, which to me wasn't the greatest deal. I wanted them to reach a long-term deal with him because he's a really, really good receiver, helps his team get over the hump. But then they were like, okay, he's got this big cap to our team, let's just get rid of him. Ships him out to the Browns, which helps the Browns a lot. But with the Dolphins, it kind of leaves them a glaring hole to say, okay, what are we going to do here? Because Devontae Parker really isn't number one material. He's a very, very good complement receiver. He's a very good deep threat. He can do what he needs to do, but they need another threat. So what they do, they go out and pick up Danny Amendola. Listen, I'm a Patriots fan, and I love me some Amendola, but he's not number one receiver. He's good. Like, from advice, okay, we try to replace him with Trace Walker with him. Walker was our number one, number two guy. He didn't do that. He didn't do very, very good. Edelman replies that role very, very well in Walker's spot. But what Amendola fits in, he fits in that number two, number three role where he doesn't need to be the number one guy per se. Like, he's not doing the number one routes. He's not doing the number one targets where the defenders are covering him. But he's that guy where he's a small guy who can get under the coverage, he can get the pass, and he's very, very good right off the catch. Very good at that position. I think it's still good acquisition for them. I think this can be very beneficial to the team. But they did get a tight end, and they also picked up a center because they lost Maurice Pouncey, which is that's just blowing to the team because he was the anchor in the middle. But they picked up a respectable center from the 49ers, I believe. At halfback, they've got Kadeem Carey, who is a respectable running back, but he's no Ajayi. They need to find a more bruising. They need to find a better running back than he does. Then on to the defense side of the ball. They looked at Ndamukong Suh's like, hey, he's got a lot of cap space. They released him, which everyone was like freaking out. It's like, oh my God, it's such a big deal. This is so bad. To me, that was the best decision they could have ever made. Because he didn't do anything. He was a good run stopper. He was a good plug, but he wasn't the deal they gave him. They were expecting a 8 sack out of this guy, big tackles, making big, huge plays, disrupting the quarterback. And he did that a little bit. He did that somewhat. But, he just didn't perform up to standards. They needed to get the cap space, so they released him. But they got Robert Quinn instead, who I think is just tremendous. And he can fit this role, and he can do it very, very nicely. Either at linebacker or in the line. They still have a good young cornerback in the secondary, so they can work with that. Overall, this team, I think, has a good future, and they can work somewhat well with this team. Overall, I'd give this grade a C because they really didn't do that much, but they were okay in the light. Predictions for next year, I'm seeing them going 7-9, maybe 6-10, nothing too far, but they're building. They're rebuilding at this point. Next up, we have the New York Jets. The Jets, I've always had a soft spot for. Patriots fans hate them. I've never really hated the Jets. I have actually okay with them. I hated Rex Ryan, but I was okay with the team at the least. So this team looked very, very weird last year. At some points, they looked very good. Like, their offense was just good with Josh McCown. They looked like they were flying up and down the field, and it was very good. But other points, that looked like Mark Sanchez was on the field, and they were doing the butt fumble 15 times. That's just how weird this team looks. So you're like, okay, how do you fix this team? So one of their major moves is getting Trumaine Johnson, which was a big, big move for this defense because they have a really, really good young corner that's very useful, and he needed a compliment, and they got that, which was very good. They also have a good safety who can help out in the defense. So I think their secondary is going to improve a lot, and I think it might be one of the best units in the league. At the linebacking core, they released one of their better linebackers, and they're trying to find a replacement, but that's just kind of a weird move to me. I didn't like that. And then on the line, they got rid of Muhammad Wilkerson, which to me, he just wasn't working out for the team. I get it, he's a good player, but you need to get rid of people like that. They did. And, they got to move on. They got to find some better pieces. Maybe get a guy in the draft like that. Maybe they're hoping for a Chubb out there, like Bradley Chubb, to get him. Maybe see if he can work out there and do what he needs to do. But I doubt he'll fall to the position since they traded up. I mean, they traded up for the cold spot, and they might be able to get him, but, I don't know what they're going to do here because, they picked up Teddy Bridgewater and they extended Josh McCown to a 1-year, $10 million contract, which to me is just, he's good. I think I overrate him a little bit more than others do, but he isn't 1-year, $10 million good. I mean, maybe he's like a 1-year, $4 million, $5 million maybe, but he's nothing like $10 million. He's just not worth it. So they did that, and they also got Bridgewater, who, people were like, he's injured, he might do something with me. I think of more upside with him because, he doesn't work out, that's fine. They didn't really send that much to them. But this trade deal is either they're looking to have like a Saquon Barkley, which I doubt, because if the Browns pass on Saquon Barkley, that would be the worst decision they've ever made. Because to me, I look at all the combine stuff and all the stuff he's presenting, he looks like a LaDainian Tomlinson or like a Bo Jackson to me. That's what he just looks like. He looks like a game changer is what he looks like. So the Jets, I think they kind of made a bad decision because they had 3 picks in the second round. I think it was 2 picks second round, and like a late next year second round or like a first round. These are decisions I don't agree with, but the Jets seem to do what they're doing, and their defense is getting better. Their offense has a young wide receiving core, and I think they have a good line. So this team is gonna build. Let's tank this time, please. Let's tank. Let's try to get some good picks out of this team. Overall, I think the grade's about a B. They did pretty good in this cycle. If they hadn't done the draft, it probably would have been an A, but they did not. So overall, next season, I think this team's going to go maybe like a 7-9, maybe an 8-8. All these teams, I think, are going to do horrible, but they're going to do average. Then we have New England Patriots, my team right here. So this free agency was tough to watch. Especially like last year, where last year was just a lot of acquisitions. They were just like, hey, we got to do this. And some of the acquisitions, it didn't work, but we still got really, really close. So I think this next year is going to hold a lot of promise. So first on the offense, we lost Nate Solder, which it's a big blow to this team, but I'm really happy they didn't try to match the offer the Giants got. That's just way too much for him. Solder, I like him, but he's not like a huge, like, good tackle. I mean, he's probably average, maybe above average, but he's an amazing, he doesn't deserve, like, quarterback money, but I'm happy for him. He got the deal, which is good. Then, and then we look at the running back position, which was a big in question for this team because Dion Lewis and Rex Burkhead were going to free agency, and Dion Lewis was our leading rusher last year. He had a lot of promise. He's very, very good run after, average per carry, which is very good. I would have liked to see him back, but he went to the Titans, which, it's sad to see him go, but, you got to deal with that sort of thing. But we kept Rex Burkhead, who people, I think, overrate him a little bit. He's good. He's very, very good in certain situations, and he shows flashes, but he isn't consistent. That's the problem with him at this point. I think we'll get more production out of him. We still have Mike Gillislee, who I was really high on last year. I thought he was going to do very, very well, but he disappointed. He didn't do that well, so maybe we can see him try to do something better this year. We also picked up Jeremy Hill, who he's a guy I've always been high on. I think he's a really good running back, and in the right place and right position, he can be a burner. At the wide receiver position, we lost Dan Mandola, which really isn't that big a deal because we have a really, really good stack at wide receiver. We got Julian Edelman. If he comes back healthy, he'll be good. We got Brandon Cooks, who, I think with Amendola in the spot, I think he will perform a lot better. We got Hogan, who, if he's healthy, he's a very good number 3 receiver. We got Kenny Britt, who's useful, and we also got Dorsett, who's also useful. They're both very useful in the spot. And we got back Matthew Slater, who was the guy I think I was most worried about, weirdly, because he's just a guy who people don't really respect him, especially if you're out of New England or if you're not a New England fan. But if you know this guy and you know his production on this team, you wanted him back. And I'm so happy to see him back, and that's just a great, great sign to see. And on defense, we lost some pieces in that we lost Malcolm Butler. That's a sad thing to see. We also got rid of Alan Branch, who, he didn't do very well in the 2016 season. He was good. But his production faltered, so Belichick's like, you know what? You ain't going to go up to task. We're just going to get rid of you. So we're going to try to find a guy to replace that. Malcolm Brown probably will be able to replace that. But in the edge, we got Adrian Claiborne, who people are saying he's always going to be this big, pass rusher. To me, he's more of a run stopper. He's big, he's hefty, he's more of like a D tackle. I think he's going to be better at the run, but the pass, I think he's just too slow for it. But I think it's a still good, very good acquisition. We also released Shea McClellan, who he's a very good piece to this defense. I think really bolstered it a little bit, especially in the run. But I think he failed his physical because of it, which, you know what? You do that, you got to get booted out. So that just had to happen, apparently. We got back Patrick Chung, which is very, very, very good to see. He's a very good safety. You can plug him at linebacker sometimes, too, to help. We got Jason McCourty from the Browns, which at first I was like, okay, this doesn't seem all that great. Seems okay. I looked at the stats for last year, and I'm like, okay, this actually seems pretty good, because the stats for last year were actually really, really good, especially against top receivers. So I'm really happy that he's here and to see if he can produce. Like Stephon Gilmore, he didn't do very well the first couple of weeks, but once it went to the last couple of weeks and in the playoffs, he produced. He got up there and he did what he needed to do to help this defense thrive. So next year, I think they're gonna go maybe 11-5, maybe 12-4. Nothing amazing. For the free agency grade, I'm gonna give it a B, maybe a C. I'm tempted not a C. Actually, I'm gonna put it at a C because it wasn't anything amazing, but it wasn't something horrible. So that was the AFC East predictions. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Any opinions about my predictions or I think how good they did, just tell me in the comments.